Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Director Spotlight. I'm the festival director, Rebecca Erb, and I am super lucky to chat with the extra cool, extra tall director of Zero Issue. Please welcome Jim Fagan.
Hey, what's up?
Hello, hello.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling good.
Good. Well, it's very nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for sharing your hard work, Zero Issue, with us. We're excited to showcase it.
We're so thrilled. We are on a mission to get as many eyeballs on it as we can. So we're just so excited. Yeah.
We are on that mission with you. We will do our best, to get the butts in the seats and all the good stuff. So, I always hear that New Yorkers always have a jaunt about them. They're always, rushing around.
Oh, yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think that's another lovely way to describe crippling anxiety. I think we all. Yeah. No.
Yeah, but it must help tremendously on a film set, though. Always having that.
Yes, I mean, honestly, I spent a little bit of time in LA right out of college, and the laid back, I fit more into the hair on fire atmosphere of New York. It just, if it got too laid back, I would put my feet up and stop altogether. So it helped me to kind of keep moving. And it's good on set. Although, we had to get out of New York City in order to shoot this movie properly. So because we were really run and gun, and we had to kind of get away from some of the permits and some of the restrictions and some of the tight spaces of the city. So we took our crazy energy on the road, I guess.
I love that. I love that. That's so great. So, so there's this one question that I always really like to ask because it's very fascinating. And there's a lot of, little connections that everybody has with their passion. So I'm just curious, where did your passion start for storytelling and filmmaking in general?
My passion I don't know. I was one of those kids with a camera, who just kind of ran around with stole my parents' camcorder, taped over important family videos with sketches and strange short movies, and I mean really early with that, starting third grade, fourth grade kind of stuff. My sister, my older sister, about 8 years older than me, was in high school plays and things like that. I would go watch that. I thought that was so cool. My parents met doing college theater together, so it might have just been sort of you kind of get the bug or something. It might have just been kind of in there. And then, I spent a lot of time, back and forth doing that. And then a ton of time in theater until I sort of realized that all the early stuff that I was really loving about doing theater work in college, a lot of those people had shifted more into the film and television world. And I was shifting into that world without really even realizing it. So, that's the whole thing. That's 25 of my 35 years in a nutshell, compressed, but that's kind of how it worked, I guess. Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So speaking of theater, you are a big theater guy, a very successful theater guy. I have to know how it was for Sweeney Todd, starring Emma Thompson. How was that?
That job was one of the coolest jobs I've ever worked on. It was great. I was assisting amazing director Lonnie Price and his associate director Matt Coward, who are fantastic. Allie worked on that as well, who's a producer on Zero Issue. It's not where we met, but it's one of the places where we cut our teeth together. And it was. I learned a lot in that job because the scope of it was massive. Emma was in it, and a lot of big star folks, especially Broadway stars. Audra McDonald was just crazy. And something that Lonnie and Matt are masters at is that they understand if you want to get the best people sometimes for stuff like that, because it was a fully staged kind of Broadway-sized concert at Lincoln Center, but it's not a full run. So they kind of understood that if you want to kind of get all those people, you're not going to get them all at the same time. And one of my jobs on the show was to plug in an entire cast of understudies and direct that at the same exact staging with them, so that as all these star people couldn't be at rehearsal, we plugged them all in.
Wow.
So that it was like rehearsal could always keep going, regardless of who was not gonna be there that day. And so it was intense, and it was fun, and it was I got to sit at the feet of a lot of really talented people, and still felt, and because of the kind of people that Lonnie and Matt are, got to contribute, my eye, and it's a big learning experience, and a satisfying one too. And you don't always get to get both, which is great. So yeah, good job. And
Amazing.
all the people on it are lovely people. I wish I could dish bad star stories, but no, they're all fantastic, amazing, lovely people. So
that's amazing to hear. I love that. So, every project is a learning experience. What do you think was like the biggest takeaway for you from this particular job?
From the Sweeney Todd job?
Yeah.
There were two major takeaways. One, both were positive. One was that, a lot of that kind of understanding that bringing talented people together, really truly talented people, covers a lot of the process for a director. And then your role is to snowplow the problems out of their way a lot of the time, and that production was a great example of that, because there's so many talented people, but like I said, problems with always getting people in at the same room at the same time or whatever. The other thing that was interesting was it was a really big, demanding job. It was I think it was like a 6-week gig, and the hours were like 40 to 60 hours a week, and it didn't really pay. Lonnie and Matt actually supplemented my income a little bit on it, because they were trying to sort of take care of myself and some of the other assistants on it. So it was sort of eye-opening. Right after that, a producer at Lincoln Center, a wonderful producer named Andrew Wilk, who took me under his wing shortly after, was like, "Hey, would you like to? We have a live stream that I'd like you to come in and direct, and it'll be 5 cameras, and sort of like calling shots in the truck kind of thing." And I think the pay for that was like double the 6 weeks that I had done on Sweeney Todd for like one day of work. Intense work.
Wow.
And I was like, huh. It was at the same, I was working already for a show called Story Notes on AMC. I think I was, I don't remember if I started out just like ingesting tapes on that show. I ended up as a writer on it, but it was somewhere along that journey at the time. And I was looking at that, and I was looking at this opportunity to jump over to the camera side of things. And I was still in grad school. I had started New York Picture Company with Matt and Zach, who made Zero Issue with me. And I had not really realized that I hadn't started a theater company, that I had started a film production company. Like, I hadn't clicked all these things in my head yet. So it was a major learning thing for me life-wise to just look at all of that and be like, I think I do film and television. I do this other thing over here, which I love, and still do theater from time to time. It's in my, it's a big part of my life. But I was like, I think I need to shift the career path a little bit this way if I want to kind of, eat and
right.
all of that stuff. So yeah.
Very cool. So what is your favorite aspect of theater? And then what is your favorite aspect of film?
My favorite aspect of theater now is what, at first, as an impatient, that shift happened when I was around, I'm really pulling a number out of thin air, but I think I was around like 27 years old or so at the time. That was probably somewhere between 7-10 years ago. And I was really frustrated with the temporary nature of theater at the time. I was frustrated because I was doing some off Broadway productions, where I was the director and I would be in the village or whatever, and we'd work really, really hard, and then we'd run for like 2 nights or 4 nights, and then it would be over, and that's it. I was that there was something about that bothered me at the time. It's something that I love most about it now. I can't explain. Maybe it's because I've gotten the opportunity to make stuff for Comedy Central or for other properties where millions of people see it and it lasts forever, but it's some of that stuff, some of it, not all of it, is more in the department of like fast food versus steak or whatever. It's kind of there's something about the art of the work you do in theater and the fact that it's temporary that makes it feel really beautiful to me. This is, if you're ready to go way off the deep end with me, it's a microcosm of life, right? It's like a very temporary thing, and then some people come together, it impacts some people, it's in one ear and out the other for others. You never really know, and the people who are doing it are so deeply impacted by the shows they do. I think that we like sort of forget that as we're coming up. Although independent film is really similar in this way, that experience of making it like changes who you are if it's a big project. So that is the part of it that I really love the most. This sort of like, there's like a temporary nature to it that's like really beautiful, I think. And now, and it's personal, which is we all, I'm sure, after however umpteen months of staring at our screens and sitting in our caves, all miss. So I am very excited to go back to the theater as it opens up, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you had to choose, I know you had this, career shift and you're, now doing the film things, but if you had to choose, you couldn't do both. Which one would you choose?
Like if I'm only going to get to make one more thing, that's it, kind of a thing. Ooh, Wow, what a question that is. Oh, God. I would probably make a film still.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Yeah, but that's tough. I don't know. You ask me tomorrow, I might give you.
It'd be like a different answer.
Flip the next day again. So that's the bet I'm in. That's probably why I do both, is because I can't choose fully.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I absolutely love that. So, you are currently working alongside and doing stuff at Loose Worlds Productions and, Comedy Central too. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did and do at Comedy Central and, what you're up to now?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Comedy Central, I was there for about 4 years. The first year I was not at the network. I was on a show called The Opposition, running the digital department for that show. It's like a nightly show after The Daily Show, starring Jordan Klepper. Really funny. We did 100-something episodes. It was an awesome experience. And then when that show ended, I was lucky enough to jump right into the network on the digital side there. I was part of a lot of teams, the social creative team, something called the Creators Program, which was like upcoming comedians there. And we did a lot of original content, a lot of original formats. I did a lot of studio shows there, so a lot of talk shows, and helping comedians develop their ideas, develop their work, a lot of development work too. So it ran the gamut from branded stuff that we would sell to supportive stuff where we're like supporting a new show on the linear network to just like a ton of original new content that we made. And all that was really fun and a really good ride. That wrapped up about a month ago. There's just shifting in the teams there and in what they're doing and how much original content they want to make now. And I was lucky enough, I got a call from an old buddy that I used to meet up with him at the bar in Penn Station under New York City, like right in the center of New York City. He lived on Long Island. I did. He was an MTV development guy. I was working at, I think it was around this time that I was working on the AMC show and then The Opposition. And we used to just, grab beers, and we had actually never worked together. We had like run into each other at a stand-up show and hit it off. And he called me when he saw that I'd wrapped at Comedy Central, and he was like, I had gone to LA, now I'm in Georgia. Everything is remote anyway, and I'm running this production company now. It's almost a collective with a bunch of really talented, nice people. And they were like, we're doing this thing for Netflix as a joke. Do you want to jump on? So I actually edited that for them over the past couple of weeks, and that was fun. But that's just the first start of whatever that relationship's going to be. And they're doing a lot of the same stuff that we were doing at Comedy Central, creating new properties, working with, but they're sort of outside of the network, which is like kind of a healthier way to be sometimes. You're sort of protected from some of the chaos of being in a network. And they're sort of the production company side of things. So it's fun to be kind of back in that camp and back in that world, while I'm also now just kind of looking for more directing opportunities and things like that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So speaking of directing, Zero Issue was your directorial debut?
It was probably, I would say, it was my first full independent short. Yeah, for sure. I had directed a ton of sketch and a ton of other sort of short content like that, but not something that I would call like a full-on film. So yeah, it was in that way. Yeah, it's cool to think about that. I think of it as sort of the clunky growth of my career, but yeah, part of the middle. But yeah, it really is. It is a debut of sorts. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. So did you have a hand in writing and the whole development of it in the process of that?
Yeah, Matt, Zach, and I. So we had this collective called New York Picture Company together, and it started over a decade ago. We made branded commercials together, and we used the money we made from that to pay for a sketch series that we would write and direct and act in, and we would all kind of like flop roles and awesome, Daniel, thank you. And we would like just share all that stuff. And we finally, as we grew, and we realized the sort of YouTube comedy game was one that was working at a volume that just like wasn't suited for us. We were like grinding our teeth over edits for like 2 months at a time for a sketch and like scripts and making things perfect. And we were noticing, folks that were having more success in the YouTube game, sort of like churning stuff out, like once a week, their sketch land. And that's how now having worked almost exclusively in that YouTube world for the past like 3 years, now I'm like, oh, that's the only way that can ever really work is to be prolific and fast and not super precious all the time. But we were none of those things. We're incredibly precious and deliberative and drive each other crazy in the best ways. So I had just had a kid. Things were slowing down naturally for the three of us and growing in our own personal careers. And so we were like, let's make a film. We want to, our process is more suited towards a film anyway. And then we deliberated for almost a year. What do we want to make? What do we want to watch? Like what kind of, and we're all super into mockumentaries, The Office, Documentary Now, Christopher Guest, and What We Do in the Shadows, all like major influences on us at the time. And we're all like majorly into Marvel and stuff like that. So we wanted to work on both of them together at the same time. I don't know what we were thinking. And we went to like the New York, I think the New York Film and Television Museum or something like that had a whole superhero history exhibit. We went and we poured through it and we started mapping out the story, and we all crafted the story together. And then we split up roles, which is not something we had always done in the sketch show, but Zach produced and Matt wrote it. And then I was to direct, and that helped with the structure a lot because we wanted it to be clear. We all had say, even in the directing and the producing and the writing, we all had say, but we wanted it to be clear that someone had ownership of each one of those phases when the time came. So yeah, that was sort of how it came about. And it probably took us, it's been a long time. It's amazing when I think about how long the road is, because I think if we'd known, we would have been too afraid, but we were blissfully unaware. It took probably it took almost a year to get the script really to where we wanted it. And then there were still rewrites going on until we shot. It probably took 6 months to fundraise. So it was almost 2 full years before we were lifting a camera. And then it was almost 2 full years of post. So it was like a big, hefty process for us, for sure.
Absolutely. I love all of that. And another thing that I love is Comrade Carl. Oh my goodness gracious. What a fun character.
Thank you.
What a treat that it's you.
It's so funny. We were standing on set. The process of shooting this movie was crazy. We bussed all these actors up to Schroon Lake, New York, and we were shooting 14-hour days. And then, you know, Allie, who's our other producer on this, will tell you she's making appetizers in my parents' cabin that is hosting 25 people. And that's at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then so we came to the point on set where it's like the third act, all the action stuff of the movie really is where Comrade Carl, the villain, emerges. And I'm in my red jumpsuit, but I'm directing all this stuff. And then I forget if it was Netta or who is next to me. And they're like holding the giant helmet. And they're like, it's time, man. And I'm like, I had like forgotten that I was in the movie. I was like, oh no. So Comrade Carl is a chance to be very goofy at a time when I was very, very stressed, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's so funny because I can picture that, you know, being in the director's seat, you have just so many different directions that you're being pulled, and that you got to make sure, like you said earlier, you know, you're snow plowing everybody's problems to let, you know, everything, you know, roll smoothly. And there's just a beauty to that and a beauty to filmmaking, like only in the world that we live in is that going to be a reality. And I love it. How is getting into the character and like building for that?
It was really fun because we were all working so hard. We were like working ourselves to the bone. In fact, a really close friend of mine told me before I went into it, who directs a lot of indies, he was like, remember, it'll be fun when it's done. Like it's supposed to be fun, but like also it won't always be fun. So like just keep your head up. But like once I put the giant helmet on, which for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, Comrade Carl is based sort of off of like Galactus. And we just asked for the largest helmet we could get, and it was amazing. Our team is amazing. And but it was fun because Matt, who plays Dale and who wrote the movie, we had been working so much. And in that moment, it was just pretty much about trying to make him laugh because he shifted off camera. Adam, who does all the visual effects, but also directs a lot, he took over kind of watching the lens because he was like, dude, we're not going to wrap in time if you have to watch back everything. So he mostly, you know, I told him, I sort of set up the shot and then he mostly watched us roll. And so I got to kind of take off the directing hat. And as soon as I put on the giant helmet, I knew, I don't know, getting into the role, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to make the people in the room sort of laugh. Like Carl is the villain, but he doesn't take himself too seriously. He's having a good time all the time. Like he loves it. He loves like blowing people up and grabbing an appetizer off the table while he's doing it and like checking in with folks. Like he's living the good life. So yeah, that's the only kind of getting into character I think that I did.
Yeah. That's so fun. So do you act often? Like you're a big theater guy, so you know, on stage and in front of the camera? Yeah,
I think that you know, the three of us, Matt, Zach, and I, acted in the film because it became clear what the pace of the shooting was going to be, and we were like, "Well, this is going to be abusive. We can't do this." We had to like bring in ourselves and other trusted people that we knew would be on board because we were like, they're going to be rolling insane days. But I love to do it. I had my master's in directing from the Actors Studio. But the training involves a ton of performance training too, which is really cool. So I got to basically take the full acting track alongside of my directing learning and studies, which is really a gift. And that's like a lot of us, that's like the early entry point that we have, right? Is like, so that a lot of my early stuff in high school and college and then right out of was on stage, but career wise, it was never really what I wanted to go after. And it was never what I thought I was super awesome at. I just enjoyed doing it. So,
well, I think you're awesome at it because Comrade Carl is so fun.
thank
Like
you.
the name is great. Yeah, it's just so fun. So acting, you know, wasn't the end game for you. Was directing and that always the end game for you?
Yeah, I think it became the end game pretty quickly. Out of college, I thought I might act a little bit. I had a really important directing teacher who named John Houchin, who's a very funny man from Texas who would like, say something and pause and like look at you and expect you to fill in the rest. So he pulled me out of directing class. At Boston College, where I went to school, is very liberal arts. So you do everything, and you don't really get to direct until I think it's junior year, and then so there's like a whole directing course you take, and then your senior year there's like one more level, and he was doing that. He pulled me out of I'm sorry, it was the last level acting class, but we would give notes to each other, and he pulled me into his office, and he was like. I think he was also trying to tell me not to spend too much time on trying to act professionally, but he was instead on the positive. And he was like, you see things that are, and he paused and he was like, correct. So the question is, what are we going to do about that? And I was like, what? Like I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And he was like, what are we going to do about that? And I said, do you think, am I like supposed to be a director? And he was like, I didn't say it. And then like kicked me out of his office, but it like planted the bug. Totally. And yeah, and I just started feeling comfortable there and good. And yeah, it would just feel like all things were clicking and I was where I was supposed to be when I started doing that kind of work. So I just started pursuing it more and gravitating towards it more. And once I was out of school, I went to LA quickly and went back to Boston. And when I got back to Boston, I started directing a lot of theater productions there and it just felt right. I felt very untrained. I had like a lot of work to do, which is why I went back to school and filled in all of that. Mm-hmm. I hadn't read I hadn't read any great directors. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of using a lot of enthusiasm and instincts, which I've tried to hold on to. But yeah, that was kind of how it started. And that's how I'm still sort of, I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of producing, but I kind of keep ending up back in the directing hat or chair or whatever. I'm always standing, so I don't know right. Directing chair. It just is where it feels right. It's where I feel like I have stuff to offer too, like a lot to offer usually to a project.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. So the ultimate question is then, what is next? Are you working on anything? Is anything in development?
That is. I'm just coming out of the lovely, and hey, if you're a filmmaker, you understand, if you're thinking about it, don't let this scare you. The trauma of making this film, the beautiful trauma of trying to make this film. So I'm just now coming out of it being like, I really want to make another film. So I'm waiting on, I'd love to write it, but I'm like not prejudiced in that direction. Like I think it's better if I don't in some ways. And so I'm just kind of waiting on the story, either the lightning bolt to strike me in the head and I can sit down and write it, or to come across the script, because I really think that I'm ready to go on another project. And so I'm like in the dating phase with projects and ideas. Like I've taken some out to dinner, but it hasn't stuck. So and then, I'm working with the guys at Loose World, and I'm checking out other producing opportunities. Producing career-wise seems to be a nice, stable space for me as well. So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of that, but who knows? Yes, it is a beautiful drama. I agree for sure.
Yeah, we totally get that aspect of it. It's amazing that we keep doing this, you know?
Yeah. And it's sort of like, in the moment, it's like crazy. And it takes you a while and you just need like a lot of sleep and stuff. But then all those memories become very happy for some reason.
Yeah.
Like good,
For some reason.
like a good long run that hurts bad, but afterwards you're like, yeah, that's great. I'll go for another run sometimes.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I absolutely love all that. I love your insights. I love your personality. I mean, you seem just like a really amazing dude that definitely translates into your work.
Oh,
And
appreciate it.
of course, and thank you so much for sharing Zero Issue with us. It's going to be playing at Action Fest Saturday, May 1st. So excited to show everybody. I think it's going to be a great hit.
Yeah, thank you. I can't wait. And then I think Allie, myself, and Adam and Netta, Netta, who is our costume designer, Adam, who did special effects. I think we're all chatting after the movie too. So
yes.
I look forward to that too.
I look forward to that. I get to exchange emails with Allie, and she seems like an absolutely lovely individual. So I'm excited to meet her officially.
Yes, and if you want to talk trauma, she will share all of it from her experience on Zero Issue for sure. So yeah, it was a good time.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and sit with me. This was really fun. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. Thank you. And thanks for everybody who was watching. Yeah. Spend some time with you.
Thanks. Well, and thank you guys for watching. Remember, Zero Issue is going to be at Midwest Action Fest, Merrimack Cinemas in Logansport, Indiana, Saturday, May 1st. And there's going to be a Q&A afterwards with the filmmakers like Jim and some other awesome people. So be sure to catch that and catch us next week on another episode of Director Spotlight. Thank you so much, guys.